The sea is never silent. Waves rise and fall, carrying whispers older than the stars. Salt winds brush across forgotten shores, singing their eternal hymn. And in that vastness, power reigns, yet longing hides beneath the tide. This is the realm of Poseidon, god of oceans, storms, and endless depth. His trident commands the waves, and his voice can shatter mountains. Yet, even a god can feel restless. Even a god can feel incomplete. One evening, as twilight spread silver across the horizon, something stirred. A melody rose from the foam, gentle and strange, unlike any thunder of the sea. It was not a cry, not a warning, but a song shaped of warmth and wonder. The sound lingered in the air, carrying both mystery and invitation. Poseidon stilled, his heart caught between pride and curiosity. What power could weave such beauty into the fabric of the ocean? What voice could reach the ears of a god and refuse to be ignored? The sea shifted, as if holding its breath, waiting for his choice. And so begins the tale of Poseidon and the Siren's flame. The sea stretched wide, endless, and full of secrets unseen. Beneath its surface, the kingdom of Poseidon shimmered with blue light. Coral palaces rose like frozen flames, glowing in the ocean's embrace. Creatures of the deep swam past, bowing as their lord passed by. Poseidon walked the halls of his domain, his trident steady in hand. Every corner echoed with power, yet silence followed his steps. He ruled the waters with strength, yet his spirit carried a shadow. The tides obeyed his will. Storms bent to his command without question. But within, he felt a stillness no wave could break apart. For centuries he had known battles, victories, and endless reverence. Yet reverence is not companionship, and victory is not fulfillment. He sat upon his throne, carved from shells and pearl, grand and cold. Dolphins played in the distance, their laughter light against the heavy sea. Merfolk sang hymns of loyalty, their voices soft yet distant to him. The god listened, but his heart remained untouched by their praise. It was as though the ocean itself could not answer his need. He rose from the throne, leaving the palace in thoughtful silence. Above, the world of mortals sparkled with sunlit horizons and clouds. He looked upward, sensing a call he could not yet understand. The seafloor trembled lightly, not with anger, but with restlessness. Poseidon's eyes narrowed, searching through the currents of his mind. The waves outside shifted, patterns curling with unusual rhythm. Something in the deep stirred, faint yet undeniable in its pull. He walked along the shore of thought, burdened with a god's solitude. No foe challenged him, no chain bound him, yet he felt confined. Immortality carried weight, heavier than any stone or crashing tide. He longed for something unspoken, though he had no word for it. Perhaps it was peace. Perhaps it was a spark beyond dominion. The gut ocean answered only with the sigh of waves, eternal and patient. Poseidon placed his trident into the sand, watching ripples spread outward. Each ripple reminded him of choices, of paths not yet traveled. The sea was his empire, yet empires can be lonely kingdoms. As night approached, the water glowed with faint lunar silver. He stood upon a cliff of stone, watching the horizon shift. His gaze carried both power and weariness, hidden behind stern eyes. Beneath his calm, he longed for a sound to break the silence. Not a storm, not a roar, but a voice beyond the waves. The stars reflected on the surface, forming patterns like secret maps. Poseidon wondered if they led to something greater than his crown. For even gods, in their endless reign, search for meaning unseen. And so he waited, restless, for the tide to bring him an answer. The night deepened. and the sea breathed slow beneath the moonlight. Poseidon stood still, watching silver waves dance against the horizon's edge. The silence grew heavy, yet it carried a whisper, soft and strange. It was not the cry of gulls, nor the roll of thunder. It was a sound delicate, woven like silk across the air. The god lifted his head, eyes narrowing, heart pulled by curiosity. The whisper swirled, rising from the foam and fading into the breeze. Each note shimmered, as if the stars themselves had taken voice. Poseidon frowned, for no mortal hand could craft such a song. The melody curved through the waves, curling around his restless mind. It carried no fear, no command, but a beckoning invitation. He followed the sound with careful steps, leaving the cliff behind. The tide lapped at his ankles, glowing faintly with the tune. It was as though the ocean itself wished to guide his path. He pressed onward, the song winding stronger with each passing wave. The god who mastered storms now chased something beyond his command. He reached the shallows, where water and sky touched in silver. There the melody unfolded, brighter, fuller, alive with hidden promise. The air thickened with enchantment, but not of danger or doom. It was beauty, pure and untamed, flowing like light within shadow. Poseidon's heart, once shielded by pride, stirred with unfamiliar warmth. The song painted visions across his mind, images of flame, not fire of destruction, but fire that comforted and healed. He saw oceans bathed in gentle glow, calm even in storms. He saw himself not as ruler, but as guardian of harmony. The voice rose higher, carrying both mystery and solace within it. Poseidon reached into the tide, feeling its rhythm match the song. For a moment, the god felt mortal, vulnerable to longing itself. The melody wrapped around him, neither chain nor weapon, but gift. Its presence asked no tribute, only his willingness to listen. He closed his eyes, letting the sound guide his restless spirit. The sea answered back, its waves moving to the unseen rhythm. Dolphins leapt in, silence, as though honoring the sacred tune. Fish turned as one, gliding in patterns shaped by unseen hands. Even the moon seemed to lean closer, drawn by the same call. Poseidon opened his eyes and spoke softly into the night. Who sings beneath my waves and dares reach the heart of a god? No answer came in words, only another note, soft and true. The melody lingered, then drifted further, asking him to follow. The sea pulled him forward, the current steady, the path unseen. And Poseidon, for the first time in ages, did not resist. He let the song lead him, chasing a mystery deeper than the tide. For even gods may answer when the heart is called by wonder. The song drifted through the waves, soft yet impossible to ignore. Poseidon moved deeper, each step guided by sound rather than sight. The sea opened before him, glowing faintly with moonlit reflection. Then, from the water's heart, a figure began to rise. She was neither shadow nor storm, but something between dream and truth. Long hair floated around her like threads of night and dawn. Her eyes shone with secrets, deep as tides, clear as glass. She carried no weapon, only the melody that bound the air. The siren's lips curved, her voice weaving light through the sea. Poseidon halted, struck by a presence unlike any he had faced. He had battled titans, commanded storms, shaped the earth's edges. Yet this was no battle, no force of destruction or wrath. Her song was not command, but invitation, tender and profound. The sea god felt something shift, a silence breaking within. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice rolling like distant thunder. The siren's gaze held his, unafraid of a god's authority. "I am a keeper," she said, her words gentle as tides. "A guardian of a flame, not born of fire, but of soul. Poseidon's brow furrowed, for flame was not the sea's companion. Yet her presence glowed, not with heat, but with living light. She raised her hand, and the waters shimmered in response. A spark, small and radiant, floated above her open palm. It flickered like a flame, yet gave no smoke or burn. Instead, it pulsed like a heartbeat, alive with warmth and song. "This is the Siren's flame," she whispered, voice echoing in waves. "A gift carried through ages, hidden from gods and mortals alike." Poseidon stepped closer, his eyes locked on the dancing light. He felt its hum within him, stirring what storms could not. The Siren lowered her hand, the flame vanishing into her being. Her song quieted, leaving only the hush of restless waters. Poseidon's voice softened, touched with both suspicion and curiosity. "Why sing to me, when countless mortals would fall at your call?" The Siren smiled, though sadness lingered in her shining gaze. "Because mortals burn quickly, but gods forget how to feel." Her words struck him deeper than the crash of any wave. For centuries, he had ruled without question, yet felt hollow within. Now a song and a flame had reached him where power could not. The ocean stilled around them, as though the sea itself listened. Poseidon, master of tides, felt the weight of choice pressing near. For the Siren had offered not conquest, but something far greater. A chance to hold meaning beyond storms, beyond dominion, beyond fear. The melody lingered, soft and patient, waiting for his answer. And Poseidon, for the first time, wondered if the sea was enough. Poseidon stood in silence, the Siren's words echoing through his mind. A god who had ruled without question now faced a puzzle of the soul. The flame she showed was small, yet it carried a vastness beyond storms. He had seen fire before, but never fire that refused to burn. This was a light that healed, a warmth unchained from destruction. His pride stirred, for gods were not accustomed to riddles of the heart. He frowned, his voice heavy, drawn from the depths of the sea. "Why offer this to me? What do you seek from a god?" The Siren's gaze was calm, as if she knew storms would pass. "I seek nothing," she said, her tone as soft as tide pools. "The flame chooses those who listen, those who dare to feel." Her words pressed against Poseidon's heart like waves against a cliff. He was a ruler, a master of waves, not a dreamer of songs. Yet he could not deny the way her melody stirred within him. The ocean itself seemed to hush, listening for his next breath. He walked closer, each step heavy, water curling around his ankles. The Siren did not retreat, her presence steady as the moon. Between them, silence grew, filled only by the thrum of the sea. Poseidon searched her eyes, expecting deception, but finding only truth. There was no trap, no snare, only a gift he could not command. And that unsettled him more than any storm he had ever known. A god with power unchallenged now faced something beyond control. The Siren's voice rose again, softer now, carrying a hidden plea. "The flame cannot be taken by force. It must be received." Poseidon tightened his grip on the trident, torn between pride and wonder. To yield was foreign, to listen even more so. Yet he lingered. He thought of centuries past, of victories that left him empty. He thought of thrones carved in pearl, silent and cold to the touch. He thought of waves obeying, yet never speaking, never answering his heart. And he felt the flame within her song echo against his silence. It was a mirror of all he lacked, yet feared to embrace. The Siren's smile was gentle, patient as the turning tides. "You may walk away, and the sea will remain yours alone. Or you may listen, and the sea may finally speak back to you. Her words lingered like salt on the air, sharp yet honest. Poseidon turned his gaze outward, where horizon and water met in silver. He saw endlessness, but also emptiness, and it pressed upon him. The song wove around his chest, loosening chains he had not noticed. For once, the god of oceans did not roar or command. He stood in thought, silent, as the siren's flame shimmered within reach. And deep within, a choice began to form, fragile as dawn light. The sea stirred softly, carrying the weight of the siren's promise. Poseidon's gaze lingered on the horizon, yet his thoughts drifted inward. The flame she offered was not of conquest, but of awakening. For a god bound to tides, it was both alluring and strange. The siren stepped back, her song turning to a low hum. The waters shimmered as if her voice painted light upon them. She raised her hand toward the distant deep, inviting him onward. "Follow," she whispered, her words carried by the current's flow. Poseidon tightened his grip on the trident, then let it relax. Storms had answered him without hesitation, yet now he hesitated. The path was unknown, carved not by force, but by surrender. Still, his heart leaned toward the melody, restless and unyielding. He stepped forward, the ocean parting gently around his frame. The siren glided before him, her form seamless with the water. Her song wove currents into a trail, glowing faintly in the dark. They descended deeper, past reefs that pulsed with radiant life. Fishes swam in spirals, drawn to the rhythm of her song. Corals opened like blossoms, releasing streams of glowing particles. The sea itself seemed alive, guiding them through secret corridors. Poseidon's eyes narrowed, both wary and awed by the beauty. He had traveled oceans vast and wild, yet not these hidden waters. These were not realms of dominion, but sanctuaries of ancient memory. The siren's voice rose, blending with the heartbeat of the sea. Her song shifted, no longer invitation, but revelation in tone. The god felt each note ripple through him, stirring buried truths. He saw storms he had summoned, seas he had bent to fury. Yet the song showed him what lay beneath: silence, longing, solitude. It was a mirror, reflecting the emptiness his power concealed. Poseidon frowned, for no foe had ever shown him himself. Still he followed, the flame within her voice, refusing to fade. At last they reached a cavern carved of crystal and tide. The walls shimmered with light, glowing like stars beneath the sea. In the center rose a column of water, spinning with grace. At its heart flickered the same strange flame, pulsing with life. The siren stopped, her gaze fixed upon the living light. "This is the place," she whispered, reverence soft in her voice. "The flame is not mine to keep, only mine to guard." Poseidon stepped closer, his breath steady, his heart unsteady. The cavern seemed to wait, holding its breath with the tide. He reached toward the flame, but it flickered away from touch. It pulsed instead, as if waiting for something deeper than power. The siren sang again, her melody guiding him to stillness. Not force, not pride, only acceptance will open the flame. Her words lingered, and the cavern glowed brighter with each note. Poseidon lowered his hand, closing his eyes against the silence. He let the song move through him, letting go of command. And in that surrender, the flame shimmered brighter, alive with response. The cavern glowed, its walls humming with the pulse of the hidden flame. Poseidon stood motionless, the siren's song weaving through his silence. The air of the deep trembled, as though waiting for his choice. He had ruled seas for ages, but never had he faced surrender. The siren's gaze lingered on him, calm yet filled with quiet hope. Her song softened, wrapping the chamber in a cocoon of light. "Do not command it," she whispered, her words gentle as surf. "The flame answers only to truth, not to power or pride." Poseidon lowered his trident, its glow dimming in the cavern's shimmer. He had never bowed, never yielded, yet the moment demanded release. He thought of tides, of storms, of oceans that roared without end. But he also thought of silence, of depths no storm could reach. He closed his eyes, listening not to the sea but to himself. And there, in the stillness, a sound rose, soft, steady, forgotten. It was the rhythm of his own heart, long buried beneath command. The flame flickered brighter, responding not to power, but to presence. The siren's song grew gentler, carrying the warmth of recognition. She watched as Poseidon's frame eased, his shoulders unburdened by pride. The cavern shimmered as the flame opened, petals of light unfurling. Within it, images formed, memories of seas untouched by fury. Waters calm and endless, children laughing on shores without fear. Whales singing, coral blooming, life flourishing in harmony, unshaken. The vision struck him deeper than any tempest he had summoned. It was a glimpse of the sea not as his to rule, but as his to nurture. A hush fell, and Poseidon exhaled as if for the first time. The siren's eyes glowed, reflecting the flame's blossoming radiance. "You see now," she murmured, her voice carrying reverence and care. "The flame is not of conquest, but of balance and bond." Poseidon opened his eyes, the trident now a weight he barely needed. His gaze softened, filled with something long absent: humility. The flame rose higher, bathing the cavern in golden waves of light. It circled him, its warmth seeping deep into his chest. He felt not power, but connection, a tether to all that lived. The sea outside answered, its currents softening, its waves gentle. Far above, the moonlit surface rippled with calm instead of storm. For the first time in ages, the ocean breathed in peace. Poseidon placed his hand over his heart, the flame settling within. It did not burn, it did not consume, it harmonized. The siren bowed her head, her song fading into silence. Her task was nearly complete, yet her gaze lingered on him. He looked at her, a question unspoken but alive in his eyes. What lay ahead now that the flame had chosen him? The answer waited in currents beyond, where destiny and tide would meet. The sea outside shifted, its currents alive with the whisper of new balance. Poseidon stood in the cavern, the flame now resting within his chest. The weight of his trident felt lighter, no longer a symbol of command. Instead, it was a staff of guidance, attuned to the rhythm of life. The siren watched him quietly, her song fading into gentle silence. For a moment, neither spoke, letting the ocean breathe around them. At last, she broke the stillness, her voice low and steady. "The sea has always obeyed you, but now it listens." Poseidon's gaze lifted, meeting hers with a rare softness. He felt the truth in her words ripple through the tides. It was not obedience that bound the sea to him. It was kinship. The cavern walls shimmered brighter, mirroring his awakening. For the first time, Poseidon felt himself part of the ocean, not above it. The siren stepped forward, her eyes gleaming like starlight on waves. "You carry the flame now, but it is only the beginning." He frowned, though not in anger, but in thought. "What more does the flame demand?" he asked, his voice deep. "Not demand," she corrected softly. "It reveals." Her words hung in the water, clear and unshaken. Poseidon turned inward, and visions stirred within the flame. He saw distant shores where fishermen prayed for calm seas. He saw islands swallowed by storms, voices lost to raging waves. He saw creatures hidden in depths, waiting for harmony to return. And he saw himself, not as ruler, but as keeper of the tide. The images struck him, weaving purpose into his core. The siren touched the water, sending ripples through the cavern. The flame chose you because even the ocean longs for a voice. Poseidon exhaled, the truth sinking deeper than any anchor. He thought of ages spent demanding loyalty from the waves. But he had never asked what the sea itself desired. The realization humbled him more than any battle ever had. The siren's melody returned, faint but guiding, like a compass. It drew his gaze to the cavern's exit, where light filtered in. "Go," she said. "The ocean waits, and the flame must travel." Poseidon hesitated, his heart torn between questions and duty. But the flame pulsed gently, urging him onward with patience. He nodded, his voice soft but resolute. "Then I will walk the path the sea has hidden from me." The siren smiled, her presence radiant as moonlight on still water. "Then you are ready," she said, her song swelling once more. The cavern echoed with harmony, a farewell woven in melody. Poseidon turned, his steps steady, the ocean parting before him. The flame glowed within, guiding him toward a horizon unknown. And as he left, the sea carried the song forward, endless and eternal. The ocean opened, wide, its waves calmer than they had ever been before. Poseidon emerged from the cavern, the siren's song still echoing faintly behind him. The flame pulsed within his chest, guiding his steps like a hidden compass. Above, the surface shimmered, bathed in moonlight scattered across silver waters. He rose slowly, each movement stirring the sea into gentle harmony. No storms followed him, only currents that carried quiet reverence. As he broke through the surface, the night air embraced him. The stars glimmered, and the moon seemed to watch in silence. For the first time, Poseidon did not feel the urge to summon waves. He let the sea rest, calm and endless beneath the heavens. The flame whispered within him, showing visions of distant shores. He saw sailors lost at sea, their cries drifting into darkness. He saw villages trembling when clouds gathered, fearing the storms he once unleashed. And he saw children looking out over calm seas, hoping for peace. The visions pressed upon his heart, heavy yet strangely gentle. He understood now that power was not his gift to wield alone. It was a trust, a covenant between himself and the ocean. The siren's words echoed, reminding him of the bond he now carried. The flame is not of conquest, but of balance and bond. Poseidon lifted his trident, its glow softer than ever before. It no longer burned with fury, but shimmered with quiet light. The sea responded, its surface rippling as if in greeting. He felt the ocean speak, not in words, but in presence. It whispered gratitude, a sigh of relief after centuries of storms. Poseidon bowed his head, humbled by the weight of this truth. He had been master, but now he was guardian. The difference was vast, yet it brought a strange peace. The flame flickered, urging him to journey further, to listen more deeply. He turned his gaze toward the horizon, endless and waiting. There were places he had never cared to see, voices he had ignored. Now they called to him, carried on currents he could not deny. He began to move, the sea parting with ease before him. No thunder followed, only a trail of shimmering light in the water. Whales surfaced nearby, their songs low and resonant in the night. Schools of fish glided beside him, forming patterns like woven tapestry. Even the winds hushed, letting the sea's voice rise in fullness. Poseidon felt no longer alone, but part of something vast. The stars above mirrored the flame within him, both endless, both eternal. He whispered into the night, his voice carried by the breeze. I will not command. I will listen. The sea answered with a swell, gentle yet powerful, like a promise. And with that vow, Poseidon set forth across the ocean, guided by flame. The journey ahead was uncertain, but it no longer filled him with dread. For the first time, the god of the sea felt truly at home. The horizon stretched wide, painted with colors of dawn across the sea. Poseidon moved steadily, the flame within, guiding each of his steps. The ocean hummed softly, no longer a force to command, but a voice to hear. He followed its rhythm, letting the tides show him where to go. Islands rose in the distance, their shores glowing with morning light. He could hear laughter faintly, drifting from villages built near the sand. Children played by the waves, tossing shells like treasures of the tide. Fishermen cast their nets, whispering prayers to the sea for bounty. Poseidon paused, watching silently from the water's edge. For centuries, these voices had gone unnoticed beneath his storms. Now he listened, the flame urging him to truly see. He felt their hope, their fear, their trust woven into every tide. The sea was not his throne, it was their home as well. He lowered his trident, letting it rest gently upon the water. A calm spread outward, reaching the shore with a soothing embrace. The fishermen gasped, nets suddenly heavy with life and promise. The children cheered, splashing in waves that no longer threatened. The villagers looked out, sensing a change they could not name. Poseidon felt the flame glow warmly, approving of his quiet gift. It was not thunder or command, but compassion shaping the tide. For the first time, he saw gratitude reflected in the sea itself. The currents whispered back, their voice filled with gentle harmony. You are heard. You are trusted. The words echoed inside him, stronger than any storm. He turned away from the shore, continuing his journey across the vast. The sea guided him toward deeper waters, where silence reigned. Far below, ancient creatures stirred, their eyes reflecting forgotten ages. They swam beside him, great shadows moving with quiet grace. Poseidon reached out, and they did not flee. They circled him, voices of the deep carried in waves of sound. They sang of balance lost and now found again in flame. The chorus surrounded him, filling the ocean with a hymn of renewal. Poseidon closed his eyes, letting their song weave through his soul. He felt the flame resonate, glowing brighter with every note. It was no longer a gift from the Siren alone. It was the ocean itself, alive and breathing within him. The god of the sea felt himself both vast and small. Guardian, listener, keeper, not ruler alone. The dawn spread higher, light spilling across the endless waters. Poseidon lifted his gaze, the horizon waiting with untold promise. The flame pulsed once more, reminding him the journey was not yet done. There were voices yet unheard, tides yet unhealed, seas yet unseen. And so he moved onward, guided not by pride, but by purpose. The ocean carried him forward, each wave a vow renewed. For the first time, Poseidon did not stride alone, but with the sea itself. The sea stretched endless, yet the flame burned steady within Poseidon's grasp. It was a beacon, not of power alone, but of truth carried by every tide. He traveled across waters where storms once raged and silence had lingered. Now, the waves greeted him as an ally, not as a throne to claim. The horizon shimmered, revealing a faint glow deep beneath the waves. It was not fire nor sun, but something ancient calling from the ocean floor. Poseidon descended, the depths folding around him like endless night. The flame lit his path, guiding him through canyons carved by forgotten currents. Strange lights flickered from coral towers, painting the abyss in hues of gold. He felt whispers in the water, voices of those who had waited long. They were not mortals nor gods, but echoes of the ocean's first breath. They sang softly, their tones weaving into the rhythm of the sea. Guardian, not ruler. Listener, not tyrant. The words carried through the depths, steady and calm as the tides. Poseidon bowed his head, understanding the truth at last. The flame was never meant to grant him dominion. It was meant to awaken. Awaken his heart, awaken the sea, awaken the bond long forgotten. As he embraced the song, the flame pulsed brighter, glowing with unity. It spread outward, not as fire, but as warmth across the ocean. Waves stilled, creatures stirred, reefs shimmered with new life. The ocean itself seemed to exhale, freed from chains of pride and silence. Poseidon rose slowly, the flame no longer separate, but part of him. It lived in his heart, in the water, in every cresting wave. The god of the sea was no longer alone in his realm. He was bound, woven, and carried with all who called the sea home. At the surface, the sky opened wide, sunlight breaking through clouds. It touched the waves with brilliance, as if blessing the vow renewed. Poseidon stood tall, yet humble, his trident lowered, his gaze softened. He had found not conquest, but connection, and it was enough. The Siren's gift had not been flame alone, but a path to harmony. He thought of her song, her courage, her hope given freely. Her voice lingered still, carried in the breeze and foam. And he knew the sea would never forget her flame. Sailing ships crossed the horizon, their sails bright against the sky. The sailors looked upon calm waters, unaware of the silent guardian. But they felt safe, and their prayers to the sea found gentle answer. For Poseidon had changed, and so had the tides with him. The ocean was no longer a kingdom apart, but a home shared. Its voice was vast, yet tender, endless, yet near. And so the god of the sea moved forward, not to rule, but to care. The flame burned on, eternal not in fire, but in unity. The ocean sang, and this time Poseidon sang with it. The sea lay calm, vast and endless, its voice softened to a song of peace. Poseidon stood at the heart of it, the flame within glowing steady and warm. He had wandered across tides, listened to whispers, and embraced forgotten truths. Now the ocean itself breathed with him, not as subject, but as companion. The trident rested by his side, no longer a symbol of command, but of care. He traced its edge lightly, knowing it was not his rule that mattered. It was the promise carried in each wave, the vow to protect and to listen. The Siren's flame had led him through pride, silence, and storms. But its true gift was neither fire nor song. It was awakening. Awakening of the sea, of its creatures, and of his own heart. The waters stirred softly, carrying voices both ancient and new. From villages along the shore to creatures in the deepest abyss, all were heard. Their harmony wove together, shaping a chorus that filled the horizon. Poseidon lifted his gaze to the sky, where dawn stretched golden and clear. The light touched the ocean, turning waves into fields of shining glass. It was as if the heavens themselves acknowledged the vow renewed. The god of the sea smiled faintly, his pride tempered by newfound humility. He knew his journey was not an ending, but a beginning without measure. For the ocean was alive, and to guard it was to walk forever. He would not walk alone, for every tide carried voices to guide him. The Siren's song lingered still, etched in the current and whispered by the wind. She was gone, yet never lost, her flame woven into the soul of the sea. Poseidon closed his eyes, hearing her melody one last time. It rose and fell like the tide, gentle, eternal, and free. He carried it within, a reminder that power is nothing without compassion. The ships that sailed upon his waters would never know his face, but they would feel his presence in the safety of calm seas, in the bounty of their nets, in the storms that passed without harm, and in those quiet moments when the ocean sang like a friend. Poseidon no longer sought dominion, for he had found belonging. The ocean did not need a king, it needed a guardian who listened. And so he remained, flame within, waves around, endless yet near. The horizon called, always stretching farther, always alive with promise. Poseidon moved forward, step by step, tide by tide, never ceasing. His story became part of the sea itself, carried in whispers and foam. And when the waves touched the shore, they carried with them his vow. A vow of balance, of harmony, of love without chains. The sea would sing it forever, and Poseidon would sing with it. For in the end, the god of the sea found not power, but peace. And the Siren's flame, once fragile, now burned eternal within the tides.